Welcome back. It's your guy, Seth Garu Baxter for Maker's Bar, where we're creating 1 million leaders today for tomorrow. With us, we have one special guest and entrepreneur who's doing exactly that. So we're glad that he's able to join us. Just before I get to him, though, if you are liking what you're hearing from Maker's Bar, please press like, subscribe, and share with the content. It definitely helps in the algorithm, and we're looking forward to bringing you more great guests like this one today. With me today, Maker's Bar audience, we have Bryce Hansen, CEO and founder of Arts for All. Bryce, welcome.
Thank you, Seth. It's awesome to be on. I'm loving everything that you're doing. You shared your story a little bit earlier. Reached out. It's a very awesome cause, and I'm super excited to get going.
We are really excited to have you here. I know when I immediately looked at some of the things you've already accomplished and what you're doing with your school and Arts for All, it was captivating immediately. You have a great and very fascinating story of overcoming, and not only that, but the work that you do, especially. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yeah, for looking into, everything. I'm more than happy to share the whole full story. I won't make it too long for you. I don't want to bore anyone, but it's been a crazy adventure, and I'm just excited to keep it going.
Sounds good. Well, Bryce, why don't we start with this? Where do you originate from?
I was born in Mission Viejo Hospital, and then raised in San Clemente, Dana Point, Orange County, my entire life. So, despite all challenges and everything I face, I have always had it well off in the sense of just being in a beautiful area and blessed in so many ways.
Blessed in so many ways. So growing up in that area, what was your family life like?
Family life? My parents got divorced when I was, I believe, 6. Lots of back and forth, fighting, all that. But on each side of the family, we were all really close. On my dad's side, we would do Yosemite family trips. Every year, my grandpa and grandma, who had nephews, nieces, grandkids, great-grandkids, we'd all just caravan up to Yosemite. So, family life was good. Parents didn't like each other, but, it happens. What can you do? It was overall a good experience.
And it's good to hear. I noticed you had a very interesting challenge at one point in your life. And if you wouldn't mind, can you share with us? Yeah, it's Charcot Marie Tooth. What exactly was that? And describe that story for some of our listeners and viewers.
Yeah, no. So, how we found my disease, Charcot Marie Tooth, was, I was always, a slow kid physically, especially compared to the rest of the class. I would run the mile in middle school, and it wasn't much of running. I'd always finish last by even double amount of time as the kid before me. My PE instructor was like, you need to go see a doctor, see what's going on. Just the way I was walking was different. So we did. Dr. Trung, who recommended me to a specialist, who diagnosed me with Charcot Marie Tooth at the age of 11. A year later, I went into my first surgery, where they took the longest digitorum tendon from the outside of the foot and then rearranged it to the inner side of the foot to prohibit the rapidly growing arches in my feet. Drilled a hole right through there and attached it to the bottom to hopefully, stabilize the way that I walk. I remember waking up at the doctor's office, all dazed and confused, like, oh my goodness, I'm 12 years old. I didn't know what to expect. I just assumed, let's have a surgery and everything is going to be perfect. Didn't think of a lick of physical therapy or anything. So I woke up, 2 big old blue casts on my legs. The doctor's like, we got to start physical therapy effective immediately. And I was like, oh, great. I can't even think right now. I was, passed out 2 minutes ago. So, hop off the side of my bench, jump out, and my legs just collapse. Then I realized I had to completely retrain myself how to walk, had little baby legs, lots of physical therapy, tripping, falling, just giving it my go. It took a lot of time. Eventually, when I was walking, a big part of it is I used to love football. Playing football was my favorite as a kid. I'd always run out on the field, and just get going with the friends. And finally, when I was able to walk, I was like, not thinking at all of the repercussions of attempting football with two big old blue casts on. So I run out on the field. Yeah, I run out on the field. All my friends are excited to see me. And, we play. And they picked me first because they're like, Bryce is back. And I was like, that felt good. They left me open, got a touchdown very first play. It was just a great feeling. I was back. Everything was feeling good. Eventually, the PE instructor came up to me and was like, what are you doing? Blowing her little whistle. She's like, you can't be playing football with two big old blue casts on your legs. I remember telling her, I was like, did you not see me just get a touchdown? Yeah, I like me. Yeah, I was banned from the field. I was persistent. That's something I always had. I always tried to sneak back on, and she would kick me off over and over again. Eventually, to the point where she was like, "Hey, if she told my friends, hey, if you're gonna let him play football, we're gonna ban everyone and just end football during lunch." And of course, I didn't go back out. I didn't want all my friends to get kicked off the field. Then, I felt like isolated though. I lost a lot of my friends. I would just sort of sit by myself at lunch, tried to find new friends, but no one I could really connect with. Eventually I tried to get into music, which is big story of how this all came to be. But music was a little bit difficult because the disease also affected my hands. I don't have any range of motion in my thumbs. They just go up and down a little bit. I was assigned clarinet.
Bryce, if you don't mind, explain to us what exactly is the disease.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm just rambling on. So okay. It's a neurological disease. So the brain doesn't send proper signals through the spine to the farther extremities in my body, such as hands and feet. So it makes the arches in my feet rise up a lot, and I have a lot of drop foot, so I don't have any motion going up and down in my feet. So as I walk, I'm walking tippy toes to heel, trip, fall a lot, balance hazard, all that. But it is what it is. Eventually I've learned to just realize, you're dealt the hand that you're dealt with, and you just have to make the best out of everything because, there's, no one gets to decide what they're born with, how they look, so on and so forth, to the extent of, how you are born. And, I've always used it as a superpower, leveraged it if I needed to, it's right. You turn your disabilities into strengths, something I got to learn young as a kid. And yeah, that helped take me through life and everything. Got me into music, like I was saying, but I was trying to take guitar lessons, and the instructor would not, teach me how to play guitar properly. He's like, you should just not do this. First lesson, this isn't for you. A hired gun instructor. Imagine paying someone to help you with something, and they tell you it's not possible, and you're a kid. It's like, just at least try. Music was a venture that I eventually gave up on in my youth because, if everyone's telling me you can't do this, you can't play football, you can't do music, I'm trying to find my way. Eventually, when I grew into my later years, I was very anxious and depressed. Just did not know who I was, which is, a scary thing. Felt like I was at rock bottom. Eventually, my dad, John, he bought a piano from a garage sale. And I'm in the living room, and there's just a piano there. I remember waking up. I'm like, why is there a piano here? My dad's like, I got it. I'm like, you got suckered into buying a piano at a garage sale. But no, it was a great thing. I just sat down there and pressed one key. Finally, gained the courage to, press another key and try to figure out all the different movements and the sounds and connect them together. Felt the vibrations resonate through my bones in this big acoustic classical grand. I figured out scales on my own because you could just sort of hear in a scale what sounds right and what to avoid. And I started making my own little rhythms and melodies, and it was great. I got stuck eventually, of course, because you could only do so much with the very little knowledge that I had. Reached out to a music school, Dan Mann's Music in Dana Point. They set me up with instructor Cy Sharp, who showed me, full scales and improvisation skills, which is exactly what I wanted to learn. They tailored the lesson to my exact needs. Structured hand on the keyboard and showed me ways to go up and down. That was perfect for me. got a job at the school, just editing music videos and stuff for them for their kids' concerts. And eventually that turned into a managerial position where a family whose son had a disability similar to mine and were unsure of their son's capabilities. And I remember telling him, no, it's possible. You know, he wants to play bass. You know, I have the best instructor out there for you, someone who's going to tailor it perfectly. You know, give it a go. You know, you never know where it's going to take you. And the parents were like, I don't know. You know, it was like, we don't have the financial means for one-on-one private instruction because it is a luxury. And then a week later, it dawned on me. It's like, how do I tell these parents, you know, how do I show them that their son can do it? You know, how do I help provide the lesson, you know, pay the instructor, you know, make sure everything goes well and everyone's happy? How do I show the world that arts are for all? And then there's the idea, arts for all. And that's exactly what we do, providing music lessons to kids in need.
That's how the name came about. That's how the name came about as well. That's how the name came about.
Yeah, exactly. Arts for all.
And so, in saying arts for all, were you in particularly interested in working with young people that had challenges, or when you say for all, that can still be inclusive? But I'm just curious, was there a focus for young people that had developmental challenges, or just in general to give an appreciation for the arts to all young people?
Yeah, so it's a mix of both, I guess. So it's to provide one-on-one music instruction. I didn't tell the part of the story, but I had an instructor. I was learning clarinet in school, and there was one instructor for 30, 40 kids teaching a series of 6 different instruments. I required extra help because my thumbs couldn't reach the hole on the bottom. And, you know, he would rarely get to me because it's not his fault whatsoever. It just, there's 30 to 40 kids in here and it's a 45-minute class. Like I would get 1 minute and that would be my fair amount of time, let alone he has to teach everyone how to do all this and la-di-da-di-da. You know, it's so, you know, I really like to focus on the one-on-one private lessons because, you know, you build a connection with your instructor. You find ways to tackle on whatever disadvantage you have or whatever you're struggling with, and it really helps you progress at a rate, you know, that's, you know, way beyond, you know, learning with 40 other people if you have a specific question or need. So that's, you know, the big part of Arts for All. We also provide performance opportunities to break kids out of anxieties of public performance. That's something I've also struggled with a ton. You know, just public speaking, my least favorite thing. And of course, I'm in the wrong industry if I do not like public speaking because everyone's like, no,
right.
You have to come talk about it. I'm like, oh, but yeah, you know, do what you fear the most, and the death of fear is certain is something my dad would always tell me. And
I love that. I really do. I really do.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm rambling.
No, not at all. Not at all. This is what makes it fascinating. So it's a specific location. Young people come to Arts for All. Or the parents look up and say, I really am working on getting an appreciation of music for my young person, or what is the approach?
Yeah, so the approach is we run it through music schools, our program, because the music schools have everything that we are trying to support the kids who cannot afford it or the kids struggling with disabilities looking for something to connect with, the transformative power of music. So local music schools, they're great. They have, it's a business. If you work with a successful business, that successful business will continue to be successful unless you do something to tear it down. So that's already implemented. We just fund the music lessons through that music school for the kids in need. And the music schools, me, whoever, will make sure that each student is tailored with a proper instructor, which is big because they don't need to have a connection. It needs to be fun and friendly. Everyone who's hired at a music school that's doing well is going to have top tier instructors. Otherwise they wouldn't be doing well, whether it's top tier instructors in, you know, emotional support with kids or with just lesson curriculum. There tends to be a mix of both, and you could find the proper spot for each student and their needs just within the program as well. They have the studio space and instruments already set up. So it just sort of everything just works out working directly with them. I would like to, at some point, our goal would be to, you know, work with schools and create an Arts for All school program where, of course, we'd still have to do classrooms unless funding just was through the roof. But smaller classrooms and a more variety of instruments, because some kids, they don't want to learn how to play the trumpet. They want to learn how to play the guitar, so on and so forth.
What kind of instruments do you have there? That is it that you try and see where their talents lie with stringed instruments or wood instruments? How do you assess which instrument a young person is going to be interested in?
Yeah, that's a great part about a music school as well. Most of the instructors can teach a variety of a bunch of different instruments. And let's say a kid is starting to, you know, get to the next level on the instrument they've been working on and they need a new instructor, we'll have a new instructor that we could set them up with. First time lesson, we usually ask, what is your kid interested in? If we get I don't really know what they want to do, I just know that they love music, they want to get into it, perfect. We'll set you up with an instructor that could do drums, piano, guitar, or drums, piano, ukulele, or drums, piano, ukulele, voice. Or if they're more into wanting to learn, more of a classical instrument or an orchestra, then we'll set them up with an instructor who could do violin, cello, viola, or saxophone, trumpet, trombone. And, sort of where they gravitate more towards is the instructor will keep them with on a weekly lesson. That's how we do our lessons, usually once a week, half-hour lesson. We assign homework. They practice over the week. They come following week, so on and so forth.
So is this a funded program or tuition style program? Or how since it's Arts for All and some of them are disadvantaged young people, how do you fundraise or do you look for scholarships? How does that work?
Yes, so we have a scholarship program where if you want to fund a student, it's through our $98 club. Around $98 covers pretty much exactly what we need. Of course, there's going to be students who require an instrument where it's going to be a little bit more, but we just use back funding to fund the instruments as well. But around $98 per month will fund one student's music lessons, weekly music lessons, with accounting of, a student being out every now and then, and transitions, all sorts of stuff. And we just found $98, which is perfect. We got the $98 club. And then we also have the $25 club where the whole incentive is you go and find 3 other friends and fund one student together, equals $100 a month. I know $2 over, but still same thing. So we have that. And then we'll do a ton of fundraisers throughout the year. We join in on, co-hosted events. We have the Redo Market where we supply volunteers. They fund us with small grants. We put on live music performances. Our teachers offer their services as live music performers to house parties and to raise fund for Arts for All. We write grants, and just mainly word of mouth. The best way to run a nonprofit is definitely word of mouth marketing. And how you get that is an unbeatable lesson program, The Cycle by Michael Kaiser. If you've ever read the book, it's a great book for arts and culture nonprofits.
Cycle by Michael?
Yeah, Michael Kaiser. So the whole concept of the book, goes into depth past this, of course, but it's unbeatable programming, creates word of mouth marketing, creates more revenue, and then more revenue, you're able to pump more into marketing, more into the program, creating more word of mouth marketing, so on and so forth. The cycle, it just turns into a circle. And
Michael Kaiser.
Yes, The Cycle. It's a good one. Bill Sanderson, big arts and culture guy, went to one of our board meetings to help us out because I am 25. I'm still learning a lot. There's still a ton to learn. This past year has been so much knowledge and information and wisdom passed on to me, which is great. It means we're picking up traction. And what we're trying to do is unbeatable and just asking, if you're just involved, then we have volunteer opportunities. The best thing you could do is, just spread it to someone else who might connect with the mission.
No, I'm curious. 25 years old and a CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what that experience is like. 25 years old and being a CEO, and some of this will help because we do look to create 1 million leaders, as we often say. But I'm just curious, your experience as a CEO at this age. I guess the first question would be, what is the most valuable lesson you think you've learned thus far?
Well, if you expect anyone to work for you, then you have to know how to do the work beforehand is big. You don't want to be caught up in a trap of like, hey, can you help me out with this? And they're like, what do I do? What is this? What is that? And you say, I don't know. You need to motivate people. You need to get what you can out of people. And you don't want to push them. Big thing when I first worked at the music school, one of my first lessons is a teacher came in. She was 22 minutes late for a 30-minute lesson. And this is before Arts for All. This is when I'm just running the school. And I was like, hey, what's going on? Very first time meeting her. And then she's like, oh, there was traffic. And I was like, well, yeah, your student already left. And then I was like, yeah, can you just like shoot me a text, make sure this doesn't happen again next time? And she goes, what? I was like, what do you mean what? And then she's like, did you just tell me that I need to account for traffic? And I was like, whoa, and then it kind of opened up my eyes. It was like, whoa, what do I say here now? I'm a very straightforward person, and, you need to hold back sometimes, especially, as a young leader, no one's going to want to take junk from a young leader. You got to understand, you're learning, because if you are 20 years old and act like you know everything and you're telling people what to do, they're not going to like that, especially if they're 30, 40 years old, they've been through a ton of stuff. You need to know that the people working for you they're not going to live up to your expectations. Otherwise, you'd be working for them. That's a big thing Dan the man always tells me. If they were perfect and did everything right and this and that, then chances are they wouldn't be working for you unless you're paying them an incredible amount. And, this is an arts and culture nonprofit through a small local music school. It's a lot of work, and you have to take a lot of junk, especially. But it's the few. It's the 1 in 100 that grasp onto your mission, that believe in you. Those are the people you want to hold on to, and you always want to take care of them. But you need people to build up this business for sure, especially if it's a nonprofit or whatever it is. You need people. You need people backing you.
So in becoming a CEO, one of the things I hear often from some of the other guests in talking about entrepreneurship and being a CEO, the challenges that they face are many. So sometimes the challenges might be on how do you role model a good leader? And you tapped into that just a bit. Give us a little more insight what you feel is role modeling quality leadership as a CEO. Am I cutting out still?
No, yeah. Sorry, can you repeat that? The last question.
Sure thing. And so the most valuable as a CEO, I lost my train of thought. Forgive me. Mm-hmm. Can you hear me okay?
No. Yeah, no, we're doing good. Take your time.
So as one of the most valuable lessons that you learned as a CEO in the challenges of being a CEO and a good leader, you tapped in a little bit just a moment ago to that. But what would you say the most valuable lesson you've learned in your years as a CEO?
Most valuable lesson? Just
yes,
as a person, if you want people to follow you, if you want to feel good about what you're doing, what Dan the man always used to tell me, he would tell me, envision the man that you want to be, and what would he say in this scenario?
Words of wisdom for sure.
Yeah. Envision the person you want to be. How would he get to that point? Essentially, and everything you say, everything you do, just live up to that. Don't worry about who you are right now. Worry about who you were yesterday and where you are now. Don't compare yourself to other people, especially comparing yourself to other people will make you feel miserable. It's about building yourself up. If you're not a strong, stable-minded person who has, decent, rational qualities and can, decipher, what to do in scenarios, think under pressure, handle pressure, especially if someone's confronting you, just showing no emotion, just being a rock. That's going to help you with everything, no matter what industry you're in. The best are the best because they are great people, and it takes a lot of work. So envision who you want to be and then be them.
Now, is there someone in particular in mind that you think of when you are thinking of that man?
Mm-hmm. There's a few. A few people. It's kind of dorky and funny, but whenever, someone's confronting me or something like that, I'm like, what would Brad Pitt and Inglorious Bastards say?
Oh, good choice. What a great choice.
Yeah, something
Great movie too.
hilarious, strong, and emotionless. Just like, this is how it is. Yeah,
That was
that's a big one. And
a
that's
great example.
fun. It makes things fun as well. What
Absolutely.
about
I
you?
got to remember that one. For me,
Yeah.
a great there was this gentleman, his name was Big Nate. We call him Big Nate. He was a neighbor of mine. Now my dad, I gotta say, my dad is, I am a little corny and nerdy in that way, but my dad definitely was my superhero. He wasn't a
Oh,
full corporate guy, so I'm thinking of Big Nate as this example. Big Nate was our neighbor, and he
yeah.
ran a bar. He owned a bar, and he started on his own. But he was similar, oddly enough, to the character in Inglorious Bastards, Brad Pitt's character. He was funny and dry wit,
Oh,
but he was direct. And I always marveled
mhm.
because I knew him since we were young, maybe since I was about 9 years old. And his style of leadership, when I saw him in action and working with people, if he had to discipline some people that were employees or people that he was looking for them to become employees and how he ran his business, I think of him sometimes because in his strength, he was a big dude. He was about 6'4", and he was intimidating looking. And you could tell he used to play football and all of that. And he just had an approach that was easy and smooth. And you didn't feel the intimidation like it would hurt you, but you felt his
Yeah.
authority. And you felt it was with kindness because he, each time he was able to give us pieces of advice or wisdom, he would slide it to us in such a way as far as this is how you lead people. And I think of him oftentimes when I think of that. Now, I've had a number of great mentors. I can say I've been very blessed to have a number of great mentors that I would think of, but he's the first one that comes in mind with his style. Big Nate. And see, even the name is intimidating, Big Nate.
Oh yeah. I already don't want to.
Yeah. And you know what? When you looked at him, even though he was one of the nicest men I've ever, my brothers and I just adored him. When you look at him, you would kind of feel nervous, but but he was just the kindest heart. He just really was. But I think about him in that way. And then for me, one of the examples I think about as far as in leadership style, I'm a strong advocate for the teachings of Jesus. And I have a big, he's a big example to me on kindness and loving. So I think of his leadership style. Those are two for me. Now, I think there's a woman in there that I've always appreciated what I've read about her, and they called her the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher. And I find that she was a fascinating example that passes the genders. Where I'm seeing some of her speeches and her style when it came to her country. She's another one I think about. So those are three for me for sure. Those three for me for sure. Now, as far as a book, what about a book that has inspired you toward your greatness that you're achieving now? Now, you mentioned this one,
Book.
the cycle. You mentioned the cycle one, but what's another one that you found very interesting and that was helpful?
Yeah. So let's see. The Alchemist is a fun one as
Oh,
well.
great one.
It's just
Great one.
your personal legend and what it takes to get there, and then you travel across the world, and it turns out it was at your doorstep the entire time. It
Great
was the
book.
journey, as well as the Power of Now, the Four Agreements. Those are like sort of self help books to control the mind, because the mind they'll rapid, sometimes, especially if you're worked up over something, just controlling yourself. Four Agreements is do probably 100 times what I'm looking for out of life, not to take things personally, as well as always try your best, be impeccable with your word, and
Absolutely.
sorry, I'm blanking. Be impeccable with your
That's
word.
okay.
Don't take
Those
things personally. Always try your best, and why am I blanking? Oh, don't make assumptions, of course.
Don't make
Yeah,
assumptions. Oh,
so
that's really
those
good.
four things. Yeah, no, yeah, those four things are sort of the key to, being unfazed by the outside environment and, just really being locked in and controlling the mind. And yeah, it's something I've listened to 100 times and I still continue to listen to because it's extremely hard to implement. Like, how many times do we make assumptions a day? Just going through the day, and someone cuts you off on the street. You're not being impeccable with your word because you're mad at them, and then you're making an assumption that they're just a bad person, and it works you up. Someone's late for work, you're just making an assumption that they're lazy and horrible, and that they're lying about why they're late to work. There's so much assumptions, and it just in that, what assumption or assuming does.
Yes.
And there's everything to do with it is just it's not healthy, to be letting it boil, and you can't confront it because then you look like a bad person. So it's something that triggers the mind. It's weighs on it, as well as being impeccable with your word. If I say something about someone else, if I'm gossiping, that person does not have the whereabouts to defend themselves. And most of the time when you're gossiping, it's because you're jealous or mad at the other person, versus just joking around for fun. There's emotion behind it, and it's a bad look for that person and yourself. People who don't try their best, especially at the 4 agreements, the other 3. If you're just being lazy all day, of course. If you work on a project and you don't put your all into it and then it fails and you get bummed out, it's because you didn't put your all into it. And you won't feel bad about the project afterwards if it does fail, if you did put your all into it. Always try your best. That's a big book that I've listened to 100 times. I don't actually read or listen to a lot of books, to be honest. It's just the few. I do need to delve out into that world. It's something I've been kind of on a journey for, is grasping more knowledge. I thought I knew it all, but turns out I don't.
I think none of us know it all. We're constantly trying to me, I think a way I like to live by is we are always learning. And I've heard that a couple of times from some of the people I admire the most. They said, always know you're always learning. If you're always open to always learning, you can't fail, because then our choices and decisions we make, they're not so much mistakes or poor choices, they're opportunities for learning. And for some of the best CEOs that I've admired and spoken to, they've often mirrored that as well. So always learning is that's the place I like to live in. And I find, and particularly like with you and some of the people I've had the pleasure of meeting, I always learn something new. And my goal is to bring in persons like yourself who are innovators, that we can learn something from you as well. For example, with your overcoming the Charcot Marie Tooth and being able to create and become the CEO of Arts for All, I learned something new. You and I spoke about it briefly, and you mentioned some people say, "Oh no, really, what is the disease?" And I myself had not heard of that, and what it's neurological. That is neurological in its how it affects the person. So learn something new there. So that's why I like to live by. Now, if you had to say words, the worst experience you've had since being a CEO, what would that look like?
Worst experience. I don't know. Probably overworking myself because I don't want to let anyone down. So I've created a lot of I put a lot of pressure on myself because it's not necessarily a business where I'm trying to make money. I don't make any money from it, actually. It's something that I want to build out to help the families. And there's a lot of pressure when I don't have the stable funding for when I have 10 to 20 students that want to be on the program, but I can't fund every single one of them. That's very difficult.
Sure.
And then, that's directly reflects on me because, my entire mission and goal with Arts for All is, to provide music lessons to literally as many kids as I can, because it's such a transformative, amazing experience, especially for me, because, I was always told, don't try, you can't do it as a kid. And then there's nothing better than breaking an agreement, the 4 agreements, back to that. I had an agreement in my head that I would never be able to do it. And then I broke it. I did it. And it was just, puts you on a power trip, and it makes me, what else can I do? And then, I start, doing this. I started working out 6 to 7 days a week, working on my physical self, which helped my mind even more. And it sort of slingshot me into, a position where, I want to tackle on all these things, and I want to do all these amazing things for all these people around me and whatever I could do because it makes me feel good. Yeah.
So part of your goal is also to have all Arts for All is to go past California, to go into different states. What is that part of your vision?
Absolutely. So ideally, I would want to connect with every high quality music school, in America. That would be a very end goal, many, many years in the future. But yeah, just connecting with all the music schools. And if a music school is, not profiting and failing, I want to go in there and I want to help build it back up because when I started taking over this music school, granted it was COVID times, we're doing like I think like 12 times the numbers we were doing back in COVID times when I first picked up the job. And it's just I want to be able to make everything as easy and structured as possible for everyone in the industry. But a lot of work,
So
a lot of
franchising it.
yes.
So franchising it
Yeah.
to that extent. And now,
Yeah. Sorry.
You that's okay. And bringing that up, and you also brought up the challenge of bringing home a good salary from working in this field. So how does one as a CEO, because I noticed you have some great numbers as far as the increase in your students and so forth, but how do you deal with that as that being a struggle?
As what being a struggle? Sorry, you cut out on the most important part.
That's all right. The financial aspect, since you sometimes are not even able to bring home a salary, how do you handle that?
Oh, on my financial aspect of, how I live and survive.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, yeah. So yeah, I still have my job working with the music school. I'm able to work on some Arts for All work while I'm running the school in between helping people, signing up students, moving things around. I also teach a chess camp on Sundays. I'm a big chess player. My
A
grandpa.
chess camp.
Yes, I have a chess camp
Interesting.
on Sundays as well. That's perfect through the school. It's my own program. Yeah, it's definitely a great part of, just the school alone. It's because there's so many kids who come through here. They'd always challenge me to chess. And I always tell the kids, if you beat me, you get 100 tickets. We have a ticket system. They earn prizes, fun stuff. 100 tickets is a lot. And then they try to beat me and then I would smoke them. And I would always tell them the same story. It's like how I learned how to play chess. I went to my grandpa's every Wednesday after church school. And he would say, let's play a game. Every Wednesday for 3 years straight, we'd play 1 to 2 games. And he never let me win once.
Oh, wow.
3
Okay.
years of losing. And then I beat him and he accused me of cheating. I got him.
Did you? Did you cheat?
No, I did not cheat. No, I got him. He said I ran to the restroom and came back, and I don't know if no, I got him. And a few weeks later, he gave me $50. He accepted that one. But yeah, I got him. 5 times before he passed, and yeah, it was just a great bonding experience with me and my grandpa.
Sure.
Yes. And now I got to pass that along to all the kids, because I learned in a different way. I learned in the way of me teaching myself how to play versus looking at one specific opening and just studying all the fraction of this opening, and I could teach, well, these pieces should go on certain positions and, positioning yourself and then turn it into life aspects, like any market. What's the key to any market? Stocks, crypto, whatever you're in, is positioning. You got to be positioned properly.
Right.
You got to have
absolutely.
Yeah, and same thing with chess.
And as a CEO, we often hear the game of life is a game of chess, not checkers. Although checkers is fun. Checkers is fun though.
Yeah, no, checkers is great, but there's nothing more fun than playing someone who's way more experienced than you, and
Yes.
you eventually being able to outmaneuver, out-trick them. You finally get to that point. It's a very active thing. It keeps the brain super stable. It helps you planning, strategy, all of it. And I didn't realize what was being integrated when I was a kid into my brain. I was just like, I'm just playing a game with grandpa, but it definitely helped me out with, where I'm at right now.
It sounds like it. It definitely sounds like it. So, I don't think I asked you this, but I forgot. What are the ages of the students that you work with? What's the age range?
Yeah. So as for the music school, super fun. We've had kids as young as 2 and as old as 92. I have this. Yeah. And I have this one lady, 92, learning drums of all instruments, like
Oh my
hardcore rock.
gosh.
She's
At
something
92.
sweetest. Yeah, she like cooks us like or bakes us brownies, brings us brownies, and then she'll go just like play some AC/DC rocking out. Yeah.
You got video?
Oh yeah. Oh, the video. Yeah.
I would love to
All
see
good
that.
stuff. Yeah, you got to treat everyone as a family member. You got to welcome them to your family, especially if you're in a small business, a small grassroots nonprofit.
Absolutely.
Every single person matters and counts. And you want to make sure that everyone comes into it and walks out with the best experience possible, because you don't know who that person is going to tell.
Bryce, did we lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay, I thought it just froze. We had a small technical situation for a minute there. Forgive us, audience. So, Bryce, tell us, if people wanted to reach out to you to show support and they wanted to be able to sponsor one of the young people, what is the best way to do that?
Yeah, that would be through our website at Arts for All. So that's www.artsforall-ca.org. That's artsforall-ca.org, but some people type in the 4 as a number. So, spelled out, artsforall-ca.org. We got a contact part on the website. My email is on there, as well as if you would like to make a donation. But the biggest thing you could do for us is just hit subscribe, the like button, get the message out there.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad you said that. Thank you for saying that. That helped a great deal. Thank you for saying that.
That's the biggest part.
And that's it. Absolutely. And then if people want to get in contact with you directly to share some of their experiences and or do some work together with you, or to reach to you for some resources and support, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah. So like I said, on the website, we have a full contact page. It goes directly to me. My email is Bryce, BRYCE at artsforall-ca.org. No numbers, everything's spelled out, artsforall-ca.org. And you can just send me an email and then we'll set something up. So whatever.
That sounds really good. I got to tell you, Bryce, we're super stoked to be able to share Arts for All with our audience today, and we're really appreciative you took out the time to spend with the Makers Bar audience. Are there any closing words of wisdom you want to give to our new inspiring 1 million leaders we're hoping to create?
Takes 100 ideas for one to land. Just keep going at it. You can't give up. Just give everything. Always try your best. And, if you fail, at least you failed knowing you tried your best and you're on to the next thing. But it's got to be your best.
That's it. I couldn't have said it any better. And then, I typically use this as part of the closing. Spirituality. What role does that play for you? And that can be in whatever form.
Spirituality?
Yes. Does it play a role in how you live your life? Does it have a role in your business?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I know, that there's something out there looking over me, making sure my life is as blessed as possible. But as for, what I believe in, I believe that, I will make it to the next step because I don't want to give up and I love who I am. And we're just going to keep pushing forward. And I'll always have that guardian angel watching over me.
I really love that. That's fantastic. That's a perfect place to put this. Makers Bar audience, you've joined us today while we're speaking to Bryce Hansen, CEO and founder of Arts for All. We can't thank him enough for sharing this time. And what he's doing is the work that we all are looking to do, something that inspires and motivates and creates hope. We thank Bryce Hansen for being with us in Arts for All. Lovevolution is the revolution that we're all looking for. Let's use the Lovevolution and push more of it into our world and into our communities. I'm your boy, Seth Garu Baxter with Makers Bar, where we're creating 1 million leaders today for tomorrow. Bryce, thank you so much for joining us. We're looking forward to hearing more from you and seeing you next time.
Love that. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, everybody out there. Like, subscribe. Absolutely. Seriously.
Like and subscribe. That's right, Bryce. Thank you again. Press like, subscribe, and share. Thank you. And let them know Arts for All. Fantastic. You have a good night, my brother.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you too. Thanks.